Carson Wentz, that switch has got to click on for Carson Wentz. Nick Sirianni can't save Carson Wentz. Only Carson Wentz can.
The Sports Map Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's Eitan Shander, Barrett Brooks, and Harry Mays.
We do have a football game or two on Sunday, so we might be able to chat with our next guest about that. But it is an you know how they say emergency pod. Something happens and you need to have an emergency pod. Well, we had a breaking story yesterday off the air, and we had a chance to speak with our NFL insider, John McMullen, at JF McMullen on Twitter, courtesy of Jacob Media, SI.com, Eagles Maven, PhillyVoice.com as well. And now that news broke, we didn't want to wait until next week. This is like an emergency hit.
It's 11:40. It was 11:40. He was on at 11:40. So you say, talk bad about him now, guys. No,
I'm just me. I'm the intermediary now.
I'm talking about Eitan.
Here's the thing. John needs to know why that has to happen first. So let's break this down.
Wow, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that Eitan would be taking the low road.
I think you, though, I'm just playing down to my comp, I think, at this point. And here's why, John. Because I think yesterday, somehow you were upset, and rightfully so, that we had to move you from your weekly slot for somebody.
No, I wasn't upset. I told Harry. I said, well, Crystal's better looking, so that's fine.
I was fine. Still had you on. It's not like we didn't have you on. We still had you on the show.
Hey, keep it real.
Usually with Eitan, I go the Matt Damon route. We're out of time. Thanks for Matt Damon in the green room.
Well,
that type of thing.
With now, ever since that happened, what we've noticed is you've no longer gone through me as the form of communication on the show, and instead have gone through
that's because Harry texted me. I said, well, I'm texting with Harry. I might
we were talking about something else. We were actually discussing another colleague who was saying some things that weren't necessarily true. Colleague.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then he said, "Hey, do you want me on today?" And then that's when we, developed the time.
Yeah,
there you go.
So it was not a conspiracy theory. It's not QAnon.
Well, everything is a conspiracy with Eitan, and everybody is plotting against Eitan. Don't you get it, John?
That's it, John. All it takes, as Harry will tell you, is two. It only takes two to tango in the pool of conspiracy, and for you,
that's true.
Next thing I know, my phone is silent, and now I know when John McMullen's on. I'm thinking, wait.
He's already a little nervous right now this weekend. He's got 16 units on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's EAnon, not QAnon when it comes to Eitan.
Well, A technically, but
yes.
Well, EY is A.
Yeah, EY.
It was more of a laziness thing. I already had the text window open with Harry, so why am I going to open up another one?
There you go. I mean, honesty is the best policy, John.
Like a true politician blaming it on laziness. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Here we are today. All right. Well, speaking of where we are today, the coaching search has landed with Nick Sirianni. And I don't even know where to begin because we've had so many different conversations and angles about it. But for me, there is something that kind of seems a little strange. How often is it that a team would hire a head coach after having a defensive coordinator in place? Because it looks like, according to the map and chronology of how things played out, that the Eagles were planning on doing that 2 straight times with Jim Schwartz, with Doug Peterson, and then again with Nick Sirianni. So again, I don't know how big of a deal this is, but it seemed like enough for me to bring it up with you.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the Eagles thing. I mean, they want to be involved in the assistant coach. I mean, the reason Doug is not here is because of Press Taylor. So, I mean, you look at how this organization is, how it's been. They want to put their stamp on the coaching staff. And by the way, if you have good assistants, you don't want to lose them. So part of it is you have a first-time head coach. He's not getting interviews anywhere else. So you do have a little bit of power to say, look, we want you to be the head coach, but so-and-so's got to be this, so-and-so's got to be that. So that's part of it. The question is it an overbearing part of it? And if it is, that's a concern. And that's where Josh McDaniels probably could have put a little more power into this mix and said, no, I want this guy. No, I want this guy. Whereas Nick Sirianni at this stage probably can't do that.
Well, McDaniels, real quick, guys, McDaniels represents, in my opinion, everybody else but Sirianni.
Yeah, I mean, I get the feeling that, look, through the first round of interviews, Josh was the guy. That's why everyone was saying it. That's why you heard all these reports leaking. Assistant coaches thought it. Agents thought it. And it comes down to me. I think Jeffrey took a step back and said to himself, these guys can say whatever they want right now. Josh, and by that, these guys, I mean Josh McDaniels and Howie Roseman. Ultimately, this is going to blow up. And by the way, I agree with that.
Yes.
And I think they were going to continue these interviews until they found somebody they felt more comfortable with than Josh McDaniels. I thought that's what it came down to.
Well, I want to come from at least the elephant, not in the room, but in the locker room with Duce not, being hired as the head coach. And, I'm not even talking about the Rooney Rule or anything else, but I'm simply talking about Duce's ability to be a head coach in this league and how they're, they just, cross over him and just run right over him. And he continues to stay. Do you think that they give him an opportunity to be now the offensive coordinator at this point, or is he going to be still have the same title he has, or he just leaves? Where are they at with Duce?
It's interesting because my friend Paul Domovich, for the first time, said Duce was offered the offensive coordinator job back in 2018 when Mike Rowe got it. And he reported that he turned it down because it didn't include play calling. Now, I haven't independently confirmed that. That's the first time I've heard that. If that's true, they didn't pass him over, so that is helpful,
right,
I would think, in Duce Staley's mind. But I also question why would Duce turn it down, because it would have still been a step forward in his career. So a lot of questions to be muddled out from there. But yeah, I've said that pretty consistently. I mean, if Duce wants to be a head coach in this league, and he does, he might have to leave this organization. But that's easy for me to say. He might not be comfortable with it. He certainly likes Jeffrey, he's been here through 3 regimes. Maybe he's comfortable. But I mean, if the ultimate end game is to be a head coach, I would go somewhere else.
Hey, John, any insight as to what type of, what kind of staff this guy might start assembling here in the next couple of days? Any names?
Well, I think when this whole thing shifted, I mean, the Jeff Stoutland story was probably the first where you could see the turn coming, because it broke that Jeff was going to go back to Alabama, and it turned out not to be the case. But he was going back to Alabama if Josh McDaniels was going to be the head coach, still under contract. And when that shifted, and you started to hear the whispers, and Doug Marrone eventually got that Alabama O-line job, it was pretty clear that the Eagles wanted Jeff back. Dave Phipp as well, who got blocked from interviewing with the Detroit Lions. So there's certain guys they have tons of respect for, they want to keep around, obviously, on the new staff, and that's what we talked about. As far as offensive coordinator, I don't think that's as important, because Nick's obviously going to call the plays.
D coordinator.
Scott, D coordinator is very important.
Yes.
And much like Doug Peterson and Jim Schwartz, that's where he has to hit the home run. There's no question about that.
Yeah, I just don't. I can't imagine that Nick Sirianni is anything more than a soundboard, if that. And I don't even know how loud of a sound it makes in the room about who's going to hire. Unless, of course, Sirianni's like, hell no, I hate that guy all my life. I don't know how he overrules Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, whoever the hell else is in that decision-making, where they were planning on bringing Schwartz back initially before hiring Sirianni.
Yeah. And, Jonathan Gannon is a name speculated. Albert Breer reported that he would be the guy if McDaniels or Sirianni got the job. Now, he's young, though. So if you think about how the Eagles went with Jim Schwartz, former head coach, sort of you had that sounding board for a first-time head coach. Maybe they want experience in that type of situation again. I know people would be thrilled about a name like Wade Phillips or somebody like that, a high-profile guy, but I don't think the Eagles are going to go that route this direction, and I think it's going to be maybe a little bit less splashy. But yeah, I mean, Howie and Jeffrey are going to be involved with the coaching staff, no question.
Let me sneak one in before Barrett and Harry close it down here, because I hate to sound defeatist and all, and I don't think this is Negadelphia or any of that other stuff. I think this is sticking to facts and evidence. But I'll be as blunt as possible. Why the hell should I care about Nick Sirianni? Why the hell should I care about what offense he runs? Why the hell should I care about the analytics that are behind the offense that he was involved in if the one variable that has refused to change to date has shown me nothing in his DNA that he will change in Carson Wentz?
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm 100% there. We talk about this rebuilding Carson Wentz. The only way to rebuild yourself as a player or fix yourself as a player is to take stock of yourself. The great whoever you can point to, great player like Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods in golf, whoever you want to, the greatness, Peyton Manning, sort of like the gym rat of football, those guys do work on their own. One of the underreported aspects of this season for the Eagles is obviously, and for everybody went through it, was no off season. And I got the feeling that Carson didn't do a whole heck of a lot. Now, maybe it's, he's a first-time father. Maybe some of that is understandable. But I think he's got to realize, look, there's a story about Tom Brady today and what he does with his throwing coach, at 43 years old to stay at the high level that he's at. Carson Wentz, that switch has got to click on for Carson Wentz. Nick Sirianni can't save Carson Wentz. Only Carson Wentz can.
Yeah, he doesn't. If he does not think that he's broke, if it's everybody else's fault, you'll never get any headway with Carson. But as they approach this season, I really think that that Coach Nick was hired on the fact that he has to make sure that Carson is at least the best quarterback on the team. And, they can't have a quarterback battle because I don't know how strong enough this locker room would be at this point to have a quarterback controversy heading into the season.
No, I agree. And I'll go back to Duce. This is it's a small sample size in the social media world, but I've never seen more players actively lobby for a head coaching candidate than for Duce Staley in this cycle. Never seen it before. Granted, it's a small sample size. So already you have a locker room that's saying, I'd rather have Duce, or at least a significant part of it. So it's no question it's a difficult situation. And if you're going to have a quarterback controversy, that's only going to ramp things up considerably. So, look, it's clear that Carson is the reclamation project. Nick is here to start. Already the NFLPA is talking about no offseason again, virtual offseason. So that's going to hurt. He's got a lot of problems, a lot of hurdles to clear. I don't envy him, but
wow,
32 head coach in this league. You got to try.
Can you hang for a minute on the stream? Because I know Harry wanted to get something in here before we break.
Sure.
All right, let's do that. We'll break on the network. We'll be back in 3 to wrap the hour on Sports Map Radio. It's The Middle, phillyvoice.com/The Middle as well.
What we feel makes our firm different from others is the fact that we take our lifelong personal approach and experience and apply that in dealing with any client. We don't view a client as a number or another case. We view them as a human being and a person who faces challenges that they never anticipated, or they wouldn't be here. They wouldn't seek us out for help. And we put that personal approach to the forefront to make sure.
Attention women of South Jersey and the Delaware Valley. Sign up right now with Our Lady NRA instructor Nayara Andrzak, who will teach you gun safety as part of this 3-hour safety class, which is being held at Delaware Valley Sports Center in Philadelphia. For information, drop an email to info@DelawareValleySportsCenter.com. That's info@DelawareValleySportsCenter.com. Learn the fundamentals at Delaware Valley Sports Center. You can't miss.
Now, John, I was wondering because I'd seen some things saying that one of the big reasons that Duce wasn't really considered for the job was Carson, and I was wondering if there was is there a rift there? Is Duce one of those kind of heavy-handed guys that Carson sort of blanches at? That we've courtesy of the McLean article when he's coached hard. Like what's the dynamic there between them?
Yeah, I mean, Duce is considered to be a bit of a hard ass, for lack of a better term. So, I mean, there is this narrative that Carson doesn't enjoy difficult coaching, going back to John DiPilippo. But, John was harsh on him and he dealt with it. So it's not like he hasn't dealt with it before. If that is the reason the Eagles steered away from Duce Staley, that's a bad reason. I will say that, because this job is more than Carson Wentz. I mean, I think everybody understands that.
Yeah, well, but it seems though that the only reason why the guy was hired was because of Carson Wentz.
Right.
Even though you're right, the job is more than Carson Wentz.
Right. I hope that's not true. I hope it's not true. I understand why people think that.
Isn't that the optics of it, is that they could not trade Carson Wentz to Indianapolis, so they brought Frank Reich.
Frank Reich 2.0.
They brought Indianapolis to Carson Wentz, but I got to tell you, even that narrative, Frank Reich, from day one, I was here with Carson. Frank Reich was very honest about Carson's stubbornness. He coached him hard too. There wasn't this Shangri-La. That's kind of revisionist history. So I'm sure Frank has told Nick everything he needs to know about Carson Wentz and how to do it. And it's not just about coddling him. So
but he's a different
Nick's got to be tougher as well.
He's gone through a lot since Frank Reich has been here, and he's been further emboldened by the organization. He's had good years, despite he's killed half the plays that Doug called. And thanks, brother. We appreciate you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.
Oh, sorry. That's John McMullen, who was hanging with us on the stream as well. We'll wrap the hour coming up. Busy on the stream. We thank everybody for being a part of this. PhillyVoice.com/themiddle, where you can watch and interact as we have new faces, new names, and some old faces and old names continuing to further the chat here. But it's really cool to see people continuing to jump on and be a part of the show. Of course, you're listening, Sports Map Radio.